crayons out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1. Phonemic awareness and lesson plan. And for the manual, you're going to page 39. So you have this. For the beginning of your lesson plan, remember it always says warm-up, phonemic awareness, or alphabet recognition. So now we're going to do phonemic awareness on blends. So each crayon will represent one sound. See, in this drill, the student will learn to develop awareness of specific sounds within words. So change task, right here, follow it.
Change task to rask.
Okay. So which one should she change? Which crayon, everybody? The first one. Tap it out, everybody. Okay. And how many sounds do we hear? 4. Okay.
Just at this point, we're just seeing, do they know where the change is, where they're hearing the sounds and deciding where that sound is located.
Right. Beginning, ending, or medial. That's like a warm-up, like you do scales before you practice the piano. Because what is this called, everybody? Phonemic awareness. But it's called segmentation. You're segmenting the sounds. Scap, and change it to scud.
Thinking too, only one extra crayon.
So how many crayons are you changing? 2. If children have trouble with this, it contributes. It's like the blockage of them, really learning to blend. So it has to be worked with. But just like I walked around, you have to help them with that placement test. Because it's just not letter identification.
So teachers have to be trained on how to do the placement test during that first training.
What I would recommend is the teachers to do some guided on the phonics and things too, so that children get used to it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying that teachers have to be trained before the kids can.
Right.
But we could maybe give one child a placement test so that we could see what it's like.
Yeah, that would be a good
And then
idea
we
to
would
have
have
the
that
teacher
down
and
for
yeah.
You could do that, definitely. If there's a teacher you're working with that you know
That is
you want
okay
to
with
work
it.
with before the training and you want to work in her class and get some placement tests done, I don't have a problem with that. But teachers have to be trained. Also, your principals have a list of which students in the building. It was put into their Dropbox.
Okay.
Every student that's scored at level 1, K3 is in there, including the retained third graders. Nobody's at kindergarten.
Oh. And look at page 43. So we are going to do the L blend. So take out the CL card, the BL, the PL, the FL, the GL, the SL, and you should put a rubber band around. We must practice the visual drill, and the beauty of it is, if you forget, it's pronounced again on the software. Okay, now when they take the placement test, if they don't get everything right, we will put them back to phonics. Probably a lot of them won't. If they get everything right, they'll take the blend test. But on your reports, you'll see what they know in letter recognition, sound recognition, writing of the letter, and the phonemic awareness. Most poor readers, the biggest issue is the phonemic awareness, and believe it or not, the writing. So, how do you think you would say CL clam? What would you say? Wow! Most teachers are going to say club. So it's CL clam cool. I want you to see the review, because if you get to blend, that means that you went through all of your consonants and short vowels. We always review. Remember the 3-part drill? And if they know it, they can just say otherwise. Okay, ready? S.
Sun.
R.
Rain.
Shorty.
F.
F. F is a hard one. So put your hand underneath your chin. F. You feel it on, where do you feel it? F, on the top of the mouth. Short I and shorty are hard for a lot of kids. And you'll see if they're integrating it after you teach it in isolation, you're always reviewing it. As you could see on the video that I showed you of kindergarten, first and second implementation, they send the workbooks home. I don't know if your kids are responsible. You don't want to lose it because that's their Orton-Gillingham lesson plan portfolio. But if you have a responsible child, they can take it home. Otherwise, I would make them the cards or print out from the software, whatever you want them to work on. So to write the blend cool, what do, everybody? For the C, around and around, down, cool. You do it with cards when it's a whole class. But when you're a small group, the blending should come with the chips and the finger taps. Okay, so you're going to say, write the blend that makes the sound of cool, as in class. And you take your cards again with the pictures. Okay? Then you're going to do the decoding drill. You're going to practice tapping it and doing the chips. The chips are very important. So at first I would teach the teachers to do the 3-part drill that we did, and then teach them how to do the other parts of the OG lesson plan. But then they can also do it on the software. Can you tap out the word clap? Okay, can you tap it out?
Clap.
Okay, can you do it touching the letters?
Clap.
Okay. Why is this important? It's an important distinction that blends get 2 taps. Because if you'll find out if this is a digraph, where's your H? It would be wah, ap, wap. Because you don't hear wah, ha, you hear wah, which is 2 letters that make 1 sound. And that's very important because we're going to go over over error analysis. And I would like for you to share with your teachers how important all of this is for, but for them to be diagnostic, and when they write, look at their errors. Because if they spell whale, W-A-L, well, they need to learn a rule error of magic E and an omission reversal of leaving out the H. So you got to go back to those digraphs. Writing is a very good diagnostic tool of where your children are at. And we'll go through that. So you're going to do that, and then what do you do after you tap it out on the chips? You write it. Then if they do well, you go to the word per minute. You're going to chart it. And what would you put here? What kind of blends? L blends. We're going through the whole lesson, but as Ann and I have been stressing, they will not do it all at once. They have to split it up, and they might need to work on one part for 30 minutes, okay, till they get it. Remember, I always look for automaticity, where it just becomes automatic, where it's not so hard for them. So here's the spelling drill, and what strategy will you use? SOS. And then you have your sight words, and then you would go into your binder or your black and white notebook and put, what's the date today? August 15th, blend sentence drill. And then It's not until you go through all those blends that you get a controlled reader. And now it's not with pictures like the phonics of the short A, short E, short I, short U, and all the consonants. We're wanting them to read it. And by the time, if they can do this, you want them to start in Prep 3, Prep 4 in the max reading. But some might need to go back to the pictures to learn topic, main idea. And again, you can do direct teaching with this and direct teaching on that. They both require it. Okay, so you can see a teacher can't just say go do your workbook, because this is an that's the 9-step Orton-Gillingham lesson plan. So remember, the 3-part drill is card, writing the sounds, and blending the words. So you have phonemic awareness in your workbooks, but it's not in the lesson plan. It's on the software in the workbooks because it's too hard for you to put that in your lesson plan. Okay? When you do the
So should they combine visual?
air writing, the teacher has to be with her back towards the student. What model it?
She'll write the letter P. We're going to go down, up.
Okay, and now you write it in the sand and then you write it in your workbook. When you get to the sight word part of the workbook and the software too, they're going to be arm tapping it with the letters. In the workbook, you can have them arm tap and also put it on the screen. Again, how to teach sight words is page 68. Now remember, you would never do all this in one sitting, but we're doing it for training, and I see lights going on where you're going to see how you'll segment. You go slower for the poor readers and faster for the ones that are picking it up. So when we put the kinesthetic of the auditory of the word, not only are they associating the phonemic awareness, they're building their what? Vocabulary. So a lot of these kids have never seen pictures of these words. And many of them, so if they have to go back again, that's good because they still get a lot out of it and they'll get more words. It's not a race. Let's go to the auditory sound drill on page 36. You're just saying write the letters that make the sound full as in clam.
So on this one, we don't do tap.
This is a picture of an ant,
Right.
but the word card we have has an apple.
I know. We
Okay,
just
so
are
it's
seeing if they can make
okay.
another association.
just one.
But apple is the key word. But at this point, let's see if they know that ant also has F. Okay. Okay.
We use our non-dominant hand.
Right, so that.
Perfect. Why do we do finger tapping? And why do we do alpha chips? What are we training in finger tapping? Kinesthetic tactile, but auditory. We're training their ears to hear the sounds. And when we do that, we're training their eyes to read the graphemes. Okay? And that's why for some of your kindergarten and first grade, you might be just doing up to here for a while. Okay? And this is the 3-part drill. If they really get it, and when they get to that word list, they can really read it, then you can go to the next part. But it might take you 3 weeks to go through this. When it says F plus L plus A plus T, that you don't say the letters, you have them say the sounds. Okay. See how she's touching the actual letters. I like that better than when they go on the edge, because it's getting them to focus. You know, a lot of reading problems, there's a new study, is focusing issues. So you've got to get them to focus, and those kids, once they focus and get it, and they can be fast at it, then they're with you. Otherwise, they're saying familiar when they see flat. Okay? And that's why we do it on the lesson plan, on the workbook, and on the software. That's a good point. If you are crunched, if you're crunched for time, the teacher can do it. If it's somebody really slow, because the most important thing is for them to get the phoneme grapheme connection and get those letters and sounds connected. No, I would say find the word flat. Yeah. Because if they,
Are they looking at it here?
let's see if they don't have to look at it, otherwise you have them look
If they
at
know how to spell it.
it.
I
Right.
said find your tapping out.
Okay, but it's sound blending. They should have known the sound. They should have connected association. Yeah, if they don't, then you have to help them with it till they can do it. That's a good question. She was diagnostic. She might have a child who can't spell it, but they know the sound, and they can write it. So then she has to work more on the alpha chips, pulling it out, tapping it, and having them do it. Because that will happen very often. That's a very good diagnosis.
You read it first, so the teacher reads it, they read it, it's good.
So remember the arm tapping? You hold the paper, so they're going to hold the workbook. Okay? And with the non-dominant hand, they take the first letter and tap it with the index and middle finger. So W-I-T-H, with. Everybody understand that? Page 69 on your manual, and go to page
They would write the word.
41 on your sight words. So remember, which I didn't see anybody do yet, when you dictate the spelling, maybe you'll do, if there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then you'll do 5 of the sounds and 5 of the sight words. And the next day you'll do the other. But remember, when they're doing the spelling drills of decodable words, they tap and write and say the sounds, but when they do the sight words, they're saying the what? Letters as they write it. And arm tapping.
Because I know
Another good question.
No.
Before you do your spelling drill, unless you want half the time to do a sight word dictation separately, you will teach those sight words. So you can put it in the spelling drill. But you can always do a spelling drill of 10 and add 5 or 7 sight words too. That's a very good point. When they're doing a direct lesson, they should make their sight word cards in red. Sight words are very important and they're not taught in a multisensory way. And if you look at writing, you see that they can spell the same word, sight word right at the beginning, and at the end it's wrong. Because it never went into automatic memory. It's just an Orton-Gillingham notebook where you would put BL, L-blend drill sentences. You just dictate sentences, like 5, and they say it, they count how many words, and then they write
And then
it.
they write it, that's right.
The reason why I don't put it in there, because I wouldn't do sentences if they're having a hard time with spelling words. So this is kind of like your running record.
Okay, and it's this right here,
Right.
number 8.
It doesn't matter if you want to arm tap first or write in the screen first. It's just so long you give more than one way. But remember, you don't say the sounds, you say the names of the letters. First, teach with the card. Then, what's next? Arm tap. And then, what's next? Screen. And sometimes this, if you're going on the sight word list and going from all the words and reviewing, this can sometimes be 30 minutes. On the other hand, if they're starting to pick up on the sight words, you don't have to do all of that. If they read it like this and they can write it like this, you don't have to do all of that. But I don't think that's going to be the case with your kids. And why are sight words important? When they write, they have to use sight words, and they usually misspell them. So what I like to do, rather than arm tap the whole list, and I would do it from the cards, and then see if they can read it. I like to arm tap it, remember 2 fingers, then do the screen, and then if they have to trace over your glue, then they try and read actually this list, okay? If they can't read it, you make a note in their workbook, you need to practice more. Because the goal is for them to read it and write it. Otherwise, it's cumulative, you gotta go back. And when they do the screens, they can trace it this way if you don't have hot glue. M-A-Y-N-A. Because it has the same tactile.
Remind your teachers they can't use the hot glue with the kids.
And the last part is the what? Sentence dictation and then controlled reader. You give the sentence, the student repeats the sentence, they tell you how many words, and then they write it. So you say L blend sentence dictation. And what do we use? Which strategy in Orton-Gillingham for sentence dictation? Caps. Did I capitalize the sentence where it needed to be? O, is it a full sentence? P, punctuation. Did I put a capital letter and a period? And I usually have them put a square around the capital letter and a circle around the period to make sure they remember. Because I'd say 9 out of 10 of kids at your level, they do not capital the beginning of the sentence and in the end. So I would put August 15th, L blend sentence dictation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is the date important? Because it's important for you as a teacher to see how they've progressed from August 15th to December 15th to January 15th, not only on your math test, but also on how they're progressing in their understanding of the English language. Okay? So, COP strategy is where in your teacher manual, everybody? 66. Now, we use the COP strategy on the software from level 2 on when they actually write the summary. So I usually have them, one thing our kids do not know how to do today, no matter what grade, is proofread. So the COP strategy in the sentence dictation and on the writing part of the software, which we'll get to tomorrow, teaches them to self-monitor. And they need it because they're always rushing through. So I'm going to dictate a sentence to you. I saw a clam. Repeat it.
I saw a clam.
How many words? 4. Write it, please. Okay. So, let's go to capitalization. Here, she capitalized everything. So we would go through it once. Then let's go through organization. She wrote, I saw clam. So is that an organizational error? Yes. So at that point, I would repeat the sentence, I saw a clam. Good job. So you got to listen for the whole sentence. Punctuation, she did a capital letter and she put a period. And spelling. If she spelled clim for clam, what would you have to do? Trace the A and write clam. A, because the vowels have to be constantly, short vowels, constantly reviewed. Good point. If you give them a word in the sentence they haven't learned yet, and they don't write it right, just tell them. So you got to go to My Max. You always come in on the dashboard, you go to My Max, and then what do we do? No, we're doing Max Phonics. Do you have them? If you didn't finish the PFNT and A, it won't let you go till you do. So you can see that the computer slows everything down to mastery. You don't do all the L blends. Yeah. See, for the children, if they're put on phonics, they cannot go to blends till they finish it all. When we do the letters on the software, they have to master it visually and auditorily, kinesthetically, and the phonemic awareness. Then when they go through the whole sequence, they'll do the auditory drill. But on the placement test, you have to really watch that part, that they don't just do the pictures and not put the sounds on. You have to alert the teacher. The computer can be, after you've introduced it, a way for the children to practice till 100% mastery. Because your teachers won't have that time in 30 minutes to drill to mastery. So it is very, very important.
Okay, so we just have to train them.
You have to train them to listen, because otherwise they're going to have to go back and do it again.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's the good part. So if they fly through it,
And make mistakes, they're going to have to do it
it's going to
again.
take them back anyway. So you can tell them not to do it. They would do it anyways. Maybe
And then they'll
once,
learn their
and
lesson.
then they'll learn.
Right.
Okay.
That's how we learn. This is a student report. This is a second grader who was a level 1 at a school, and they just couldn't teach her to read. So they put her in an intensive summer program. You can see how many hours she's been on. They've continued with her for 2 years. It takes 3 years to really get the program. And every year your scores will go up more because your teachers will get used to it. But then you get a detailed report. So I can go to phonics, and you can't do that now because your kids haven't done anything. And if I go to alphabet, I can see that this second grader who never learned to read, and I'm showing you this because we had to go back to the very beginning. She had to do the phonics book, not the digraph book. But in 1 month on PFNTA, and remember I said the only thing you have to write in the software is the word per minute. And it'll stick because it means to me and any Orton person that you have listened to your student read, and you have to. And the check means 100% accuracy of what you're going through now. Right now you're going through the identification, the paper writing, the sand writing, phonemic awareness, and the kinesthetic tactile. So if it's a check, that means you did all those math quizzes where you got it correct. Then it takes you, after the vowel, remember, to the auditory motor where you're typing the sound blending, the sight words, the controlled reader, and she got 100% on that. So then, that's why I said, there's no reason why they can't, keep going. They don't have to just be in one sequence of letters. So then she went to blend. And I just want to show you that you can even see how this, I don't know if it's going to work well for me to, I don't have enough internet, but when you click on, oh yeah, you saw it. You saw how she traced it? So you can even see that. Then she went to digraphs, and now she's in max words. So we're going to focus on digraphs and max words tomorrow, which is syllabication. Then if I want to see, so all of these reports can be printed out. You can be printed out for the week, you can print it out for a month, or for a quarter, or whatever you want. So then I'm going to go to max reading, and if I go back to where she started on prep 1. And by the way, it will tell you how they're doing on different areas of comprehension. But I can see now, she's on level 3, 3rd grade level. I can see how she's highlighting. I can print it out. I can see her outline, which we'll go into tomorrow, where she wrote 3 details. Because that's where at level 2 they learn to write summaries. The World Cup brings together people from all around the world, but we'll go into that. But what I'm trying to show you is this is the best way for you to monitor your teachers, is to actually go in and see. You'll also have something called progress monitoring. Remember I told you if they do 80%, they'll Lexile up. You have all these passages are Lexile, Fontes, and Pinnell, and grade equivalent. It will tell you where they start and where they end, and it will also tell you their Lexile level. So go back to your manuals on Lens, and go to the beginning part of the manual. I've been only talking about the direct instruction, but the first half is all about the software. So it will tell you how to log in, and it's going to explain the placement test. So I'm on page 2 of Lens, and it will just tell you all the different steps and the quizzes. And if you go on page 18, it'll tell you where we'd like for them to be on word per minute. And go to page 34 of the reports. Once they take their placement test, that will be on the report as well. So on page 30, it shows the failed items list for this child on their phonics test. So someone said, will it say the letters? Yes. And it was all phonemic awareness. So I showed you the detailed report. And now we're to progress monitoring. Okay? So you might want to look over that. And I can go to a student, and I'm going to go to a young student just to show you what that looks like. So I get on the comprehension, you're going to get where they started on the Lexile and the date and where they are. You can't see that because, they're going to have to do at least about 35 passages to move up a level, and with good scores. So here you can see, can everybody see it? She was a second grader, and she started out in a 300 Lexile, and now she's been on the program a year, and she'll start it again in her school. She's 705. So she's above grade level, almost 4th grade. So what I'm saying with a program like this, these ones, if you make sure this is done with fidelity, they'll move up. Then you go back to that same report called Progress Monitoring, and it's in your manual, and I recommend you read it. And then it will I can see the phonics, how she's progressed. And for this girl, it shows that she needs more work on digraphs. Because you get 4 kinds of reports. You get their Lexile, and that's why they have to take the beginning test. You get their phonics report. You get an individual student report where it will give you where they are with the checks on the phonics and where they are in the comprehension. And then you get, you can get a class report. And write this number if you ever need tech support, 305-676-9826, and ask for Kendra. She's really good. And 917-3664. But remember, if you have an issue on your computer, you've got to go to that query little thing, because they're not going to know with 3 million users that you had a problem with X screen or whatever. So go to My Max. Okay, so Max reading. Tired. So let's go to level 1. And here, the text is longer. There still is a read aloud. So these are all first grade themes. Seasons and weather, creatures, picnic time, my neighborhood, hobbies, places. Now, they can pick and choose from different books, but they have to finish at least 8 of the passages at each level for them to be leveled up. So the more they do this, the more they level up, which is very empowering for them. You're going to listen to it read. Remember, this is the hearing instructions button. But the other is over here, we'll read the passage. Everybody know that? And remember, the A can make it bigger. And remember, I can send it home. And sometimes we do passage per minute too, and just write it on there to get fluency on passages too. So then after we read it, we're going to highlight. Usually it's, again, it goes with the picture, so it's picnics. And we're going to find out how they're fun. Can be fun is my main idea. So it's about picnics being fun. Now, if they redo it, they do not get the same questions. Because then we're breaking the habit of memorizing. You've got to practice with your teachers. Because remember, when teachers get frustrated, they don't want to do it. You got to start off on the right foot. But if you would go in your blend manual, go to page 77, and that's the Orton-Gillingham 3-part drill we've been doing. They might need to spend a lot of time on that over and over again till you go to the other parts. So again, the visual drill with the cards, letter, name, picture, sound, auditory, the teacher dictates sounds. In random order, the student repeats the sound and then writes a letter associated with the sound in sand, salt, or rice, or you could do it on the paper. If the letter, as we get more, like we saw C and K, if you dictate, you want them to write up to now C, comma, and K, and they underline it. And then the blending is the third part where either you do the reading deck to blend the alpha chip with real words and non-words. Look on page 76, and you have the progress monitoring of the blends in addition to what I saw. I showed you in the software under reports. So here the teacher can have Johnny Jones and put how many sight words he's learning, if he can read his controlled reader for the L blends, what's his word per minute. So it's just another way of progress monitoring. Does everybody see that? But it's all on the software and you can print it out. And most important, please go to page 67. This is how you look at reading errors. If they reverse a B, a D, an M, an N, a P, a Q, how many have students like that? Then you've got to trace the letter and say the directions. Do it in the air, do it on the sand, do it. Do you have whiteboards in your room? Do it on a whiteboard with the large muscle movement. Let's say they omitted the H in what? That's what we call an omission error. And again, then you go and use the alpha chips or the tapping. Additions. WHATCH. Again, you have to have them tap it, do the alpha chips, do it in the sand till they get it. A transposition error would be like for slip, SILP. So you want to be aware of these errors and see if it's better. Now, a rule error is if they write whale for whale. They don't know the rule of the WH is a digraph that has 2 letters and 1 sound. So let's go to spelling errors. If they spell for clip, clap, they've got a vowel confusion, right? So give them the vowel and the key word, and then have them tap out and trace the whole word. A rule error, which we're going to learn spelling rules tomorrow, if they spell floss, when you've taught the double L, double F, double S rule, and they're still spelling it FLOS, you've got to go back to the rule. And then sound insertion or deletion, like bland for bran or plap for pap. The teacher says the correct word, the student writes each sound, says the sound in salt or sound, and then says the word again, and doing it 3 to 5 times. Look at your blend workbook from the direct lesson, and I also gave you on page 43 and 44 the actual writing of the blend lesson. And for the review letters and sounds prior taught, we probably would go back to, which we did, the alphabet, the consonants, and the short vowels. So here's the visual drill. You see the sound drill. You see the sound blending and tapping, the fluency, and see how you can chart it if you use that template. The sight words, the spelling dictation, and the sentence dictation. And then the controlled reader. Page 33 is the Phonics Assessment. So under the progress bar, if you look on page 34, there's a colorful bar next to each student's name. The bar is correlated with the dates and numbers that appear right below, if you look. And each color in that bar represents a different period of time of progress. Then these columns show the skills that students are tested during their work in the phonics program. Under each header, you will see a check mark and an X or a dash. These represent tendencies demonstrated by the student, and the system will take into account the 5 latest questions answered by the student for that skill. So a check, like you saw, means a student usually does not struggle with that skill. You got 4 out of 5. An X means a student still struggles with that skill. He got 2 out of 5. And it'll show which one. So that's when they do their direct lesson, where they can focus. You don't have to go in the lesson order or in the workbook order. You might have to go to a specific part again. And a dash means that none of the conditions above have been met. Therefore, the system can't show a specific tendency, positive or negative, meaning they didn't do it. So all students in grade K to 2 will be prompted to take an initial assessment in phonics before they start. When they log in, that's the first thing. Once the phonics test is done, and it might take 2 30-minute periods, they might be prompted to take a reading comprehension test as well. After all tests have been completed, they will gain access to my Max. So until they do that, they won't have access. So it will take some time to get them assessed, but we want to see it, and you want to be able to monitor it so that they're focusing. So go to placement test on page 2. So again, as soon as a student logs in, it'll come up by default for all students K to 2. I would recommend that as soon as possible, before they take the test, that the teacher does some of the phonics with them, just so they know the different steps. From them coming and taking turns on the smart board. And if they're really low, then they should take the phonics test. Make sure for the placement test on page 2 that the students have headphones before starting the test. Remember that they know that there are speakers on every screen which can be used to repeat the instructions for clarification. So not only the speakers on the pictures, but the speakers to give directions. And in order for the student to have reached Module 3, the blends, which we just did, he or she has to have successfully completed the Phonics Module 2 test. That's the placement test. And they pretty much have to get all of those categories correct. In addition, the placement test could have sent the student there, or the teacher could have overridden the placement test, which I'll show you, and assigned the student to blends. Remember, the test can be stopped at any time and continued at another day, and it will return the students to where the test is. And at the end of the test, the teacher and students will be told which letters they have mastered and where they should start.
So when they finish the test, it's not going to automatically place them where they need
Yes.
to be. The students have to click where they're supposed to be.
No, it'll take them.
Okay, so they're not going to have to choose between
No.
blends or what, it'll automatically.
It'll automatically
send that.
take them to that, and just like you couldn't go ahead till you finish, they can't.
Okay.
So the detailed results of this test will immediately be available to the teacher and found in the student's individual report section of the reports. So it won't be under the progress monitoring the results. It'll be the first one that I showed you, that you go to reports and individual. I have a little presentation over here, which I definitely recommend every coach goes onto that link, and it'll explain the placement test.
So you're saying that if we have a third grader, we don't have to really, most likely, would not have to have them do the phonics, which is the kindergarten test, but maybe start with the blends test, which is the
But
second
if they
grade.
place that, then the teacher has to unlock, the teacher or coach has to unlock it under settings. Just take a look at 5, because again, Module 1, if you forget, is pre-kindergarten. That would be a very emergent reader. Module 2 is consonants and short vowels, 3 is blends, and 4 is diagrams. As a teacher, meaning on your account, because they should be teaching this to the group first and then watching them like I watched you. You'll be able to choose as a teacher any module. And for blends, the teacher can unlock the blends module for her individual students under settings, and settings is also explained in this book. You just have to save the changes on the bottom. The student will only have access to one module at a time in phonics. The others will be locked till they're finished. Okay, so when the student enters blends module 3, the screen looks like that. For a student, until they do the digraphs, let's say the H digraphs, they can't go to CK/NK. See how it's locked? You have access because you have an administrator. Okay, so the grapheme phoneme connection we talked about today. If you go on page 7, they can't skip around like I showed you they can on the Max reading. They have to do the CL to go to the BL, just as you saw. And as soon as the first screen appears, you're going to see the arrows. So you can teach them that too. That one is to go back, one is to go forward. The arrows going one way and the other, they redo it, and that is the pause button. They have to finish the master quiz and the quizzes in between to get the ability to move up. So the only way on page 21 for students to move up to the next explicit set of letters and sounds is by answering all the questions correctly. What is phonological awareness?
Phonological awareness is an understanding of the different sounds within a word.
Very good. What is a visual drill?
That's when you're using the parts.
Which is what? Letter?
Picture and sound.
Good. What is the auditory kinesthetic drill?
When you are asking them to repeat the word in your air writing.
Very good. And what is the auditory sound drill? write the letter that makes the sound cool, as in clam, you would type what? Okay. The two different ways we did sound blending the words.
We did the tapping and we did the alpha.
Alpha chip. Good.
Yeah.
What is fluency?
The rate and prosody that students read.
Exactly. What is sight words?
Those are words kids just have to know. They don't always follow the regular rules.
And what color are they?
Red.
Okay. And how do we do a sentence dictation?
How do we do a sentence dictation? You say the sentence to the student repeats the sentence back with you, counting out the number of words in the sentence, and then writes the sentence.
Wonderful. Okay. What are the two different ways, Anne, to teach sight words that we learned today?
We learned the on tapping and we learned the on tapping and tracing. Right.
Tracing, right. With the what?
With the little
Right.
Yeah.
With what kind of crayon, everybody?
Red.
Red. Okay. They love that, by the way. Tell me the difference between a grapheme and a phoneme.
The phoneme is a smallest unit of sound,
Right?
and then
The grapheme.
grapheme is a letter. That makes
Yes, 100%. You get to go home a few minutes early.